The Cubs get swept by the Marlins, and there's so much to discuss. We do it next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Please support the show and be a part of the Locked On Cubs community by following on all audio platforms. And you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. The Cubs get swept by the Marlins over the weekend. 3 one-run losses as the Fish sweep the Northsiders by scores of 3-2, 7-6, and 4-3. Cubs are already 2-5 in one-run games, and they're now 14-13 overall this season. A lot to break down on this Monday episode, Sam, and I know we're going to do it from all different angles.
Yeah, and to be honest, Matt, the 2-5 in one-run games is generous. As I'll go over later in the show, there's a lot of games they ended up losing by more than one that they felt like that they gave away as well, or not gave away, but that could have done better in. This weekend was a great example of why I was so upset on Wednesday night when we blew that game against the Padres, and why on Tuesday night I came on the live show and said I kind of wish the game was closer, because I needed to see this team win some tight games to get over that hump, because in non-tight games and games that have been decided by the 4th or 5th inning, they've been dominant all season, but they can't seem to find a way to win these 50-50 games, and this weekend was a great example of it. A little bit of luck. You have to acknowledge that, because the Marlins are 10-0 in one-run games. That's luck. It's not like they're doing anything spectacular to be 10-0. A little bit of luck that didn't go your way. Some sloppy late-inning hit-by pitches and walks from relievers that either were high-leverage relievers like Keegan Thompson or Michael Rucker that earned the right to pitch in that spot and completely, the bed. And then, to me, the clutch hitting. 4 for 25 in the clutch all weekend. 2 of those 4 hits, one of them didn't produce a run by Patrick Wisdom, and the other one was a chopper by Yan Gomes that should have been an out at second base. So that's really actually flattering. It was more like 2 for 25. And, you picked the game, Matt. I mean, Friday night, tight, leading late, find a way to lose, double play by Suzuki late, who had a terrible weekend.
Right.
On Saturday, first and second, no outs, 3-1 count to Ian Happ, no runs. Bases loaded, no outs, no runs. Bases loaded, no out, 1 run yourself into a double play. Sunday's game, little bit of everything. Yan Gomes drops a ball, leads to a run or 2. Plenty of opportunities, can't get the job done. And I know Suzuki rightfully will be the offensive target, but Nico Horner had 3 at-bats with the bases loaded and left a lot to be desired in those as well. The good thing is it wasn't just the bullpen. It wasn't Ross. It was a team effort. It was complimentary, sloppy everywhere, bad at bats. You walked 8 times on Saturday, 8 times, and you weren't able to produce runs, enough runs to win. So, I'm going to get into a lot more of the games in detail later on, but this weekend was one of the tougher weekends in the last couple of years for Cubs baseball. I mean, 3 one-run games.
Yeah, no, they did it the worst way possible. All the drama, all the despair. I thought Friday was a good game. It was a good pitching matchup. Mm-hmm. The flow of the game, it wasn't as much of a consequential experience, where Saturday and Sunday left me very sour. And especially Sunday, because I'm not sure what the plan was Saturday with the Killian start. Easier said than done, easier in hindsight. But to get staked out to a 5-0 deficit and 7-2, I don't care if it's freshman baseball or MLB. It's hard. That's going to be hard. And they almost did it, but they left a ton of guys on. Right. Sunday's game is really the one that did it for me. You try to salvage the series, and it just doesn't happen. And, my main takeaway is the lack of offense, like you mentioned, 4 for 25 runners in scoring position. And because of that, 24, hashtag Jack Bauer, 24 runners were left on base. That's an average of 8 a game. Too many. That's one per inning. It's too many. I am very fired up on today's show. There's definitely more to come. But I'm also upset because you enter that weekend able to win the series against the Fathers, on Thursday. And you had the off day. Excuse me, no, Thursday into Friday. And, you had getaway day, and then you go to Miami. The flow of these games is the most disheartening because not only did you have 1-run losses, but in 2 of the 3 games, you had a lead. And as you're going to get into later, they've had the lead in a lot of the games this year. So it was more of the same for this team. Hopefully this isn't the trend.
Sure.
But we'll see.
Agree with everything you said. The theme of this show is going to be the margins. We've talked about it all off season. These are games on the margins. What do the margins mean? The margins mean in the 9th inning, you don't hit 2 batters on Friday night. That's how you lose. The margins mean on Sunday, Keegan Thompson, who has a major walking problem right now, walks a really, to be kind, mediocre hitter with tons of speed at the top of the order to lead off the 9th inning. Base hit left field. That player gets the 3rd. You lose the game on a margin play, right?
Sure.
You got to throw strikes, walks, hit by pitches. Ian Happ on Saturday. Maybe he catches it, maybe he doesn't. He misplays a ball in left field that could have gotten Caleb Killian out of the first. Or Caleb Killian takes an extra step to throw the ball to first base to lead off the game on a Chisholm bunt. That's a margin play. Today, Dansby Swanson hits the same ball that Sanchez hit on Saturday, and their left fielder makes a great catch. Little things like that on the margins when you are playing 1-run games hurt you. And I know what people are going to say, and they're wrong. Well, really good teams don't play this many close games. If they were better, they got to give themselves a bigger margin. No, they're 11-5 this year in games, and I'll get to this later, that I categorize as not margin games that were in hand. They've done a nice job dominating. They haven't been able to come up with that big-time clutch hit enough. They haven't been able to come up with that big-time clutch inning. Michael Fulmer, 9th inning, Dodger Stadium. Get 3 outs, we get out of here. Hasn't happened enough. And I got to tell you, as somebody that I think I've been maybe the most critical of any outlet on David Ross, Matt, would you say that that's pretty fair?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he has a whole lot to do with this right now.
I don't see much at all.
I'm not finding myself from the couch saying do this or don't do that.
No.
Now you're going to get to somebody.
I really haven't since 3 weeks ago. That Reds game.
You're going to get to somebody above him with some roster moves for sure. But even with that being said, you got to play better. Keegan Thompson can't be walking the leadoff hitter. Nico Horner is the best hitter on this team with men on base. He can't take a called third like that today, right down the middle with the game on the line. And people's a game on the line. It's a 4th inning. So sometimes that's what it is. It's turning points. You ever hear Pat Hughes say, hey, there's a turning point in this game? Yeah. It's every pitch. That's why I don't like watching baseball games with others, right? Because you and I watched together on Saturday. We were locked in every pitch. If I'm watching in a public place or I go to games with people and say, hey, man, let's go get a hot dog. No, because the game could be lost from my walk to the vending machine. That's how sacred these games are, right. And that's how serious you have to take it.
Amen.
And the Cubs are taking it seriously, but they're not producing. This team should not be 14-13 with the production that they've got from a lot of guys. If you watch my Twitter video today, I don't know if you got a chance to see that.
Yeah, it was raining, right?
Yeah, it was pouring.
No, Horner, Happ, Wisdom, Leiter, Stroman, Steele, Smiley.
Bellinger has been one of the MVPs of the league, and we're a game over.
Yeah, exactly. No, we should both walk off this set. We're going to get into a lot more coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar, looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever. You got to try Built. If you're like us and want to make healthier snack choices but don't want to compromise on taste, you got to try Built. 100% real chocolate, 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And you can get it in the store now, your local Walmart or Sam's Club, or all your specialty flavors still at Built.com. So go to your nearest Walmart or Sam's Club today and pick up a 4-bar box, or find it online as well at Built.com to grab a Built Bar today. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need for yourself. But when we spend all our time giving, it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burned out. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnMLB. Welcome back to Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You can catch every pitch like I did on Sunday, the Cubs hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app by searching Cubs. As the Cubs were on Peacock on Sunday, Sam, they were on Fox on Saturday. Fox had, I thought, actually, we didn't discuss this when we were watching, but I thought Fox had like a weird audio issue. And Peacock today, the broadcast was poor.
Horrendous.
But I'll just leave it at that.
Me too.
Well, April is in the books. And, I've already heard some programs and writers, talk about, well, what if we told you the Cubs went 14-13 in the first month? I got news for you. We told you that. We said it would be great if the Cubs went 14-13. We talked about that start to the year, but things changed when the Cubs started off the season as well as they did. One of the top performing offenses in baseball, one of the top performing starting rotations in baseball. And so the goal in my mind was no longer 14-13. If you think it was, you're in a fantasy world. Okay, and I'm in the real world. Here's what I saw. I saw the month that went from great to good to maybe you even say mediocre with, this isn't debatable, an absolutely brutal finish. And maybe being in the mix is the most likely outcome this season. Hey, just be in the mix, sure. But what if they are capable of much more than that? What if this team is not only good, but could do real damage? Because right now they're in the mix, but at what cost? They, as you're going to point out in a couple minutes, they have lost more than they should have. And we're only 27 games in with 135 to play. And on this show, we pull up a chair, we put our glass in the table. What do you have in there? Do you have water? Do you have pop? Do you have soda, if you call it that? Do you have a beverage, if you know what I mean? But we pull up a chair and we talk Cubs. And all these other shows, quite frankly, they talk analytics, and I don't even know some of them. And I'm a high-level coach. You don't need analytics right now to tell you the Cubs should be better than 14-13. However, one area, Sam, that I've always liked, the one area I've ventured into the past, is the Pythagorean record, a Bill James creation. Run differential, lucky, unlucky, decision-making. And do you know what the Cubs' Pythagorean record is right now?
I know, but if I had to guess, I'll say 17-10.
17-10, fam. And the other reason I feel so strongly about this, the Cubs roster isn't as good as it should be, especially on the margins. This roster could be so much better. What is Jed Hoyer doing? You play an entire month of Major League Baseball with 2 to 3 spots basically not being used. I've never heard of that.
Never.
It's a 26-person roster player, not 25, not 24, not 23. Jed Hoyer, you should be ashamed of yourself. And David Ross at times should be ashamed. Well, Edwin Rios hasn't started in 2 weeks. What does he do on Sunday? Doubles and walks. How do we know if he doesn't play? Rios, Terrence, Merriweather, and really only Terrence was probably the non-contributor. Okay, we saw Rios Sunday. We know his power. Merriweather pitched really well Saturday. But
Hosmer.
For an entire month, you play with 23 to 25 instead of 26. And my mind right now, it's clear that you should promote from within. But there's zero indication that they will. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Morel slashing 363, 463, 835, 11 home runs, 8 doubles. Matt Mervis slashing 295, 407, 580 with 6 homers and 7 dubs. From this point forward.
What's Hosmer slashing?
Yeah, right. From this point forward, I will move mountains until Jed Hoyer calls up one or both of Morel and Mervis. Mm-hmm. Because, Jed, I don't know what your intentions are, man. You're a competitive team. You're in the mix, but there's so much more on the table.
I couldn't agree more. And look, before I get into supporting what you said, I want to let our audience know Matt and I are this mad because before the season on the air, but even more so off the air, we believe that this is a good team. And I think we probably still do. It's like one of those things in high school sports when you have a player and you yell at them a lot. You say, hey, I'm only yelling at you because I know you could be really good. I care. And it's like when we stop caring, because when we know you're not that good, we're not going to get that angry, right? Mm-hmm. We're not at the sense how I've been, like, for example, with the Chicago Bears football club for the last 3 years where I'm just apathetic.
Sure.
We know that they could be good. I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care that before the season, people thought they were a 70-win team. They were wrong.
100%.
And so when you dive in, the Cubs, I believe this season, and this is arguable. This is a discretionary stat. I'm making this up off of what I think.
Though.
Yeah. The Cubs have played, in my opinion, 11-ish games that were up in the air. We're up in the air that maybe they could win, maybe they couldn't have won. I have them winning 3 of them. The 2 Mariners games and the 1 Mariner game, you got to remember, they were up heading into the 9th. Fulmer gives up a home run to Kalenic. They come back to win it later on. Mm-hmm. I have the 2nd Mariner game, even though the Cubs had that game pretty well in hand late, they were down 7-0. And anytime you're down 7-0 and come back, That's a great win. That's a steal. That's a great win. Then the Dodger finale that we always talk about in LA that they won and stole that one fairly late. Here are the 8 games that the Cubs, it's a joke that they didn't win at least 2 or 3 of these, okay? Game 2 versus the Brewers, start the season, up 1-0 in the 8th, Assad on the mound. Leadoff base hit Anderson, Bryce Terang, or one of their Usain Bolt running rookies at the plate showing bunt, 4 straight balls when he's giving you an out. Reds, goes without saying, game 1, we've talked about that game at nauseum. Okay. Game 2 in LA, I was at that tilt, and Michael Fulmer was 1 out. When you're 1 out away from winning a baseball game, that's a should win. That's a should win.
I agree.
Okay. Game 1 against the Dodgers at Wrigley, 2-2, bottom 8, 2 on, no outs. You end up losing the game by 4 runs. Wisdom double play, Fulmer implodes in the 9th. That's a game. Maybe you shouldn't win that one, but you definitely could have. Then you play the Padres, game 2, 7th inning, up a run. Brandon Hughes comes in for Trent Grisham, who's hitting 182 and almost below 100 versus left-handed hitters, and you walk them. And that leads to a loss. And then all 3 games, Matthew, this weekend, they lost. That's 8 games that I feel like they should have had or at least could have had. If you win 2 of those, we're really happy. If you win 3 of those, I'm booking World Series tags. And you haven't been able to win 1 of them. And for that, that's why this month, this grade for me that I would give, if we had to give a grade for the month, would be a C-. A C minus. And as you mentioned earlier, before, Cody Bellinger, MVP like type stuff from him. Wisdom hit the first 10 homer April for a Cub since I can remember.
Yeah.
Steele and Stroman, these guys are not number one starters, guys, but they're pitching like it. And you've wasted all of that. You've wasted all of that because you haven't been able to deliver on the margins consistently. It's not just David Ross. It's not just the bullpen. It's not the hitters. It's the collective. And it starts and ends with Jed Hoyer, as you beautifully mentioned, when there's guys that are hitting and we're wasting time with guys that we know aren't going to be on the team in May. And you look at what Pittsburgh's doing, you look at Milwaukee's doing, and I just hope, because I think this team is good, and I think that they're going to be around for a while. And you just hope that you don't get to mid to late August and go, we're 4 out. If only we didn't just give those games away.
Right.
It's just the human element. It's not acceptable to lose this many games. You have 13 losses, and I could attribute 8 of them that you should have got. You got to be better. You got to be better.
Yeah, because that group of 8 of the 13 that they went 0-8. That's the whole point.
Right. And I would say, like, in the grand scheme, I'm being generous, 3-8 in toss-up games.
And you want to get to a point where we could just leave those 8 behind.
Yes.
Play to a level and compete to a level we could just stop talking about it. I was getting to a point where I was stopping to talk about the Reds game, the David Ross game. I was done with it.
And you get to that by winning some of them. Like tomorrow, you're down 3-1 in the 8th, and you had a 3-run homer with 2 outs and win 4-3. Now that 8 becomes 7.
Okay, so you just subtract.
Right. It just you want to the way I look at a Major League Baseball season, Matt, is that unless you are a super team, you are going to win a certain amount of games, and there's going to be games where we get all excited and the game's over in the third, we lose, because that's baseball. What truly defines a team is what you do with the rest. And I just thought that this team's strength would be these type of games, and it hasn't been so far. Yes. The offense is greatly overperformed, and that's why we're 14-13.
Yeah, and I think I have a little bit of frustration over the run differential.
It's annoying,
because now they're not top 2 like they.
But they're still ahead. I bet you they're still ahead of Pittsburgh. Oh, maybe not after Pittsburgh.
No, not anymore.
Well, I'm going to check on that.
But they're 5th or 6th in baseball.
Yeah, no, and
that's still really good. But they're 1 game over 500.
No, it's
and don't you agree
they're 15 runs better than Milwaukee?
Don't you agree that these brothers in Des Moines need to come up? I mean,
of course.
What are we waiting for?
No, I agree.
Are you waiting for a Christmas invitation?
I agree that the only player that I at least understand where Jed's coming from is Morel, because of his strikeout situation. But I think if you really want to win, you got to bring those guys up. And again, I always circle back to it, and it's nothing personal. It's the Hosmer stuff. Yeah. Where he's the guy taking the at-bats from these guys. Because who else are you going to – Rios isn't taking ABs from anybody. He's on the team, but he's not playing.
No.
So you got to understand, in order to bring somebody up, somebody else has to lose at-bats. So even if you bring Mervis up and you cut Rios or send Rios down, who is Mervis going to hit above? They have got to stop. I believe they have got to stop giving Hosmer and to an extent,
have a rotation.
Yeah, all these at-bats. Yes. And, they're in a conundrum right now. At least it's a better problem than having nobody to hit, but it's a problem. I agree. I don't necessarily think the roster decisions has cost them as many games as other people do. I think that like for example,
I don't know about that.
Eric Hosmer hasn't blatantly cost the Cubs. In fact, he's actually gotten some of the more clutch hits.
Yes.
It's just as a collective, mostly a couple relievers, and then this weekend offensively, they just haven't been able to get it right. Like the best summary to this season is on Saturday's game was probably the bullpen's strongest performance, and it was in a losing effort because they were losing. Right. But if they were up 1, they would have found a way to blow it. They just got to get that right. And if they continue playing the way they did, there's 2 ways to look at this, and then we can move on. There's the way that we are right now saying, hey, Wisdom's going to struggle at some point. Bellinger's going to struggle at some point. Steele's going to struggle at some point. So your 14-13 really is a couple games under. Or you could say, this is a really good team.
Yeah, maybe not.
And they're not going to struggle. And now you just have to clean up the stuff on the margins. Right. And 14-13 becomes 17-10 in May. So
yes. I think that's what I would lean towards even after the disaster in Miami.
Yeah, I've never watched a game this season where I've thought that this is a bad team. Never once.
No, they've been in every game.
Yeah, and now it's just about fine-tuning things and delivering and leverage, right? It's like and I see this all across the league. Like on Saturday night, Mike Trout hit 2 homers for the Angels, and I saw like in the headlines, Trout has huge game, but Brewers win. Mike Trout hit a homer. They were down 7-1, and then in the ninth with 2 outs, they were down 7-3. Again, that's great for his stats. It's great for his baseball card, but as a fan of the team, I'm just like, all right, like that doesn't help me
No, it doesn't.
at all. You know,
No.
you gotta deliver when it matters. And
Right.
that's why the Contreras thing for me, I was always fine with that. And you know, I think they're gonna be okay, but April, I will label and we'll label for the rest of the season, unless, like you said, we start running off stuff as a missed opportunity because they play better than the record shows.
Missed opportunity. Going to put that in the thumbnail for sure, if not the title. I think that's a good way to
I don't feel well.
sum it up. Coming up next, we preview Cubs Nationals. Today's episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the eBay Motors My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 120 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Motors. Guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Welcome back to Locked On Cubs. 4-game series in the nation's capital. Cubs Nationals. Nationals are 10-17. They salvaged their series with the Pirates on Sunday. Smiley versus Gore. Wisniewski versus Williams. Stroman versus the elusive TBA. And the elusive TBA versus Corbin. 6:05 Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Central Standard, and 12:05 on Thursday. What are your first thoughts on this series? Because it could be a nice bounce back series, or it could just be more the same.
My first thoughts are it's the biggest series. It could end up being the biggest series of the season because you have hit adverse for now.
Right. Well, these are the biggest games on the schedule, truly.
You have hit adversity for the first time this season. And whether it's baseball, life, relationships, players, teams, you find the most about somebody when they face adversity. And people will say, oh, well, it's just the Nationals. Guys, the whole secret to success in baseball is beating who you're supposed to beat and hanging in there with everybody else. If you do that, you usually find yourself playing a game right around October. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and the Nationals are not Oakland A's bad. So to sit here and expect a 4-game sweep would be wrong. They just beat up on the Pirates on Sundays. So my initial thoughts are you're facing one good pitcher, and that's Monday night. Mackenzie Gore's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Everybody else you can handle, and you could still handle Gore. It's not like he's Sandy Koufax, for God's sake. I think you have to win 3. Okay. And you have to do what you can to win 3. And then you win 3 out of 4 and you come home on Friday and you play this team and it is about revenge.
The revenge tour.
Because I know the Cubs better than anybody. And I
you do. No, honestly, you do.
And if they win one of those games like 12-2 next weekend and then lose the other 2 by 1 run, call Coase, call Politis, call whoever you want, and never talk to me again. Because let me say this, and I know this is about the preview of the Nationals, but we got to win 3 out of 4, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will be so locked into those games because of what they did to me. I will not let the Marlins ruin 2 straight weekends of me. No, it will be revenge season. So take care of business. Find a way to win on Monday any way possible. Take it game by game. Regroup. And, you're 14-13. You take 3 out of 4. You're 17-14. That sounds a lot better. And then it's go time.
every day or stay with us all week long here on the
Marlins
show.
again. Find a
And
new host.
What do you think about doing a live on Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, I think I'll do whatever you want. I'm tired of the lives after wins. So yeah,
What does that mean?
because it's just this jolly you know what. Sometimes we got to face the music,
Okay,
So
that's true. That's true.
like if they win 18-2 tomorrow, yada yada yada, run differentials plus $1 billion. No, I'd like to do a live. I would have liked to go live if this was during the week after this collapse. But yeah, we can go. We can
All right,
schedule.
we got to get out of here.
We can schedule a live
This is
whenever
too
you
much
want, and they better win 3 out of 4 this week. And I think they will.
I hope so. I hope so.
No rain in the forecast for DC. Already looked.
Yes, I've added Nationals Park to my Apple Maps for this week. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Locked On Cubs on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods on the audio side. And we are now streaming on Sirius XM. So that's very exciting. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.